I turned on my girlfriend's old laptop. It logged into an account I didn't know existed. And for the next 2 hours, I sat completely still, reading messages from a person who had my girlfriend's face, but wasn't anyone I recognized. I wasn't reading history. I was watching her in real time. Before I tell you what I found in those messages, and what I did with it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment below. Stories like this only keep coming because of you, and trust me, the moment I realize what I was actually looking at changes everything. My name is Ryan Calloway, and I want to tell you about the night I learned that the person you think you know and the person they actually are can be two completely different people, living inside the same life, side by side, and you never see the seam. Mara and I had been together for 2 years. Good 2 years. She was warm, funny, the kind of person who remembered small things. Your coffee order, the name of your college roommate, the anniversary of something you mentioned once in passing. She made you feel seen. That was her gift. She had moved in 6 months earlier. It had felt natural, easy, the next step. The laptop was hers from before we met. Old, slow, mostly retired. She kept it in the closet with some other things from her previous apartment. She had mentioned once that she should wipe it and donate it. On a Thursday evening in October, she was out with friends. I was looking for a charging cable in the closet, and the laptop was right there. I pulled it out, thinking I'd check if it still worked. Maybe it was worth something. Maybe we could actually donate it that weekend. I opened it. It took a few minutes to boot. Then the screen loaded. It went straight to a messaging app I didn't recognize. Not one of the main ones. Something older, more obscure. The kind of platform people use when they want to stay off the obvious grid. It had logged in automatically, remembered credentials. The account name wasn't Mara's name. It was a name I had never heard, a completely different first and last name, with a profile photo that took me a moment to process, because it was her, unmistakably her, but styled differently. Hair different, setting different, the kind of photo you take for someone who doesn't know the rest of your life. I sat down on the closet floor, and I started reading. The messages went back 3 years, hundreds of them, thousands maybe. I didn't count. I started at the beginning and moved forward slowly, the way you read something when you're not sure you want to reach the end. The person writing these messages was not the Mara I knew. Not in style, not in tone, not in the things she talked about. The Mara I knew was careful with her words, measured, warm. The person in these messages was sharper, harder, funnier in a darker way. She talked about her life, her real life, our life, from a distance, like it was a role she was performing rather than a life she was living. She talked about me, not cruelly. That would have been easier in a way. She talked about me with a kind of detached affection, like I was something she had chosen for practical reasons and had come to genuinely like a coat that fit well but wasn't her style. I kept reading. The person on the other end of the messages was a man. They had met 3 years ago, before me. He lived in another city. The messages between them weren't just romantic, they were a second life. She told him things she had never told me, fears she had never mentioned, opinions she kept carefully hidden in our relationship, a whole interior world that I had never been shown the door to. I had thought I was with someone who let me in. I was with someone who had built a room I didn't know existed and spent 2 years making sure I never found the door. I checked the timestamps. The most recent message was from 4 hours ago, while I was at work, while she was getting ready to go out with friends, or whatever she was actually doing. I sat on that closet floor for a long time. Then I did something that probably surprises you. I closed the laptop, put it back exactly where it had been, walked to the kitchen, made coffee, and sat at the table to think. Because here's what I understood in that moment, the same thing I've come to understand every time life has handed me something I wasn't prepared for. Reaction is not the same as response. Reaction is what happens when emotion drives the car. Response is what happens when you take the wheel back. I had 2 choices. I could call her right then, exploding, everything raw and exposed and out of control. Or I could wait, think, decide what I actually wanted and what I actually knew before I said a single word. I waited. She came home around 11. Happy, easy, the version of her I knew. She kissed me on the cheek and asked if I'd eaten. I said yes. We watched something on television. She fell asleep on the couch. I watched her sleep and thought about the closet. The next morning, after she left for work, I opened the laptop again. This time I read more carefully. Not the emotional content, I had absorbed enough of that. I was looking for specifics, details, the shape of what this actually was. What I found was this. The other man knew she was in a relationship. He had known for 2 years. He wasn't trying to pull her away. He seemed, in his own way, content with the arrangement. The visits happened twice a year, roughly. Always when she told me she was visiting family in another state. I checked my memory against the dates in the messages. Every visit matched a trip she had taken that I had never questioned. I had driven her to the airport twice. I closed the laptop again, sat at the kitchen table, and made a decision. I called a friend of mine, someone I trusted completely, who had been through something similar years before. I told him what I had found. He listened without interrupting. When I was done, he asked me one question. What do you want the outcome to be? I thought about it. I want to understand it, I said, and then I want it to be over. Then don't blow it up, he said. Finish it clean. That evening, I asked Mara if we could talk. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I had been sitting that morning, the same table where we had eaten 100 dinners together. She looked at me with those warm, careful eyes and waited. I said, I found the laptop. She went very still. I know about the account, I said. I know about the name. I know about the visits. I know about him. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, How much did you read? Enough, I said. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had shifted. The warmth was still there, but underneath it, finally, was something more honest. Something she had been keeping behind glass for 2 years. I didn't know how to stop, she said quietly. It started before you, and then you happened and I wanted it to be you. I genuinely wanted that, but I didn't know how to close the other door. I listened. I'm not saying that to excuse it, she said. I'm saying it because you deserve to know what it actually was. I nodded. I appreciate that, I said, but it doesn't change what I need to do. She nodded too, like she had always known this conversation was coming, like she had been waiting for it for 2 years and was almost relieved it had finally arrived. We talked for another hour, calmly, both of us. The kind of conversation that happens when the fighting is already over before it starts, when both people already know what the outcome is and are just finding their way to it without making it worse than it needs to be. She moved out 3 weeks later. There was no drama, no scenes, no mutual friends taking sides. We divided the practical things practically. She took what was hers, I kept what was mine. The apartment felt different afterward, bigger and quieter, and mine in a way it hadn't been while she was in it. I don't know what happened with the other man. I didn't ask and she didn't say. I kept the laptop, not out of bitterness. I'm going to donate it eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. It sits in my closet now where hers used to sit, and sometimes I walk past it and think about that Thursday evening. The boot up screen, the automatic login, the account name I didn't recognize, the most accidental 30 seconds of my life. Here's what I want to leave you with. We spend a lot of energy trying to find the warning signs we missed, trying to identify the moment we should have known, the red flag we walked past, the question we should have asked. I've done that too, gone back through 2 years looking for the seam, the place where the double life showed through. I haven't found much. She was good at it. Or maybe I just wasn't looking. Both things can be true. But here's what I've decided about that. You cannot know what someone doesn't show you. You can be perceptive, careful, emotionally intelligent, and still not know. Because some people are very skilled at managing what you see. That's not your failure, that's theirs. What you can control is what you do when you find out. I found out by accident. On a Thursday evening in October, looking for a charging cable. I could have put the laptop back and never opened it. I could have opened it and exploded. I could have opened it and fallen apart. Instead, I sat on a closet floor, read what was there, made coffee, and thought. And then I finished it clean. That's all I had. That's all any of us have. The moment in front of us and the choice about how to meet it. I met mine. And I'm still standing exactly where I chose to be.